Oh, what's up? Hey, guys. We're live. Sorry. We're off. We have a lag here. My bad.
I was still working on the countdown.
Right. I thought we were on the countdown still. So what's up, Facebook? Good to see you guys. Ryan Kelly here, Paradigm Shift. Got Mr. Jordan Shepler on this week.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
I'm super excited to have Jordan on. Every week that countdown gets me. Every single week it gets me. So I'm super excited to have Jordan on. Because Jordan and I have been friends for years now.
Yeah.
We had our 8-year anniversary on Facebook the other day.
Yeah. It was shortly probably before before I went into business because we're just celebrating 7 years this year. So,
are you?
Yeah.
That's exciting, man.
Yeah. So you come along and then all hell broke loose after that.
I'm good luck.
Yeah.
I'm good luck.
Good
so
luck.
I've known Jordan for a long time, and I've always known Jordan to be a hell of a go-getter. And we're the same age. How old are you?
I'm 27.
Oh, I'm 28. I got a year on it. When you turn 28?
September.
Oh, shit. I turned 28 in October. So I got a year on you. I should be farther than you. But I think you're kicking my back end.
Well, you're at least got the plans to build your house. We haven't made it that far yet with ours, so.
I know, but it's a beautiful home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you posted a picture of that yet?
No, we haven't. We
Dude,
just recently had decided on the exterior layout. So
this is what we'll do. We're in the middle of we're starting. We're breaking ground. Blueprints are all done. We're breaking ground. Next week, I'll let you know how bad it sucks.
Okay.
Every step of the way, I'll just call you and be like, "This is terrible."
So the reason why we haven't broke ground is because we've got a hole dug for an addition on an AFC home. So we're trying to keep up with the demand and do stuff like that. So my wife and I are like, "Well, let's put an addition on, finish off, get to our max amount of beds, and then we'll build our house." So we just
you've been working on that addition for a little bit, right? Because you talked to me. I talked to you last fall about it. And so it's in the works.
That one's done. This is a new one.
That's exciting, man. That's exciting. So this past week, guys, I want to touch on last week a little bit. And we go our weeks just so people are like, it's Tuesday. Well, we go Tuesday to Tuesday as for our weeks for the podcast. And so I had an absolutely amazing last week. The weather, beautiful weather, man. I get the snow. Yeah. I'm so glad that snow is out of here. Last week was tough. We got beat up last week pretty good. S&R took a pretty big hit financially. But our bounce house, we are doing bounce houses now.
I see that.
Oh, man, it is taking off. It's phenomenal. The response from our local community has been absolutely amazing. I can't thank everybody local enough. I'm glad that there's a call for it. I'm glad Ryan Brown hooked us up initially with the idea. And so things are going really well. We just purchased today. I'm not even going to tell you what it cost because, God, it was – the bounce houses are doing so good that we just want to keep investing in it for everybody. So we bought a behemoth, dude. It's 45 foot long. It weighs 500 pounds. So I don't even know how we're going to get it around.
I can't imagine you'll be setting that one up.
No, I will not be setting it up. It's like 16 or 17 foot high, and it's a beast. Yeah, it's a beast. So we're doing that. That's going to be for more of our churches and our local events. We're actually meeting with.
Well, you're going to have the space, so just. The regular birthday party.
We're meeting with the city of Lake City, so we're hoping to get in there for the Greatest Fourth of the North. Put a bid in because
Didn't you and I go last year?
Yeah,
weren't they when we had all the bounce houses and stuff there with the pony ring and the kids were playing?
Yeah.
You should get on that.
Well, I am this year. Okay. I'm putting my bid in on Tuesday for
it.
Okay. So, how was your last week, or how was your week from last Tuesday?
Extremely busy. Winter time. Not a whole bunch of people like to move around in the winter. So they usually get pretty settled in, or they try to at least get enough care if they're still at home. They get enough care in their home to get them through the winter because packing up, moving, and not knowing what the weather is going to be is awful.
Oh, I imagine. And moving. Do you have most of your people, are they long term?
Yes.
I guess we'll get into this in a minute, but all right.
Yeah, and the other thing is too is they move into my home because they need the extra assistance. Right. So moving when you're maybe don't need as much assistance is easier than if you're trying to move and you maybe have a disability or you have, recently had a stroke or something and getting moved around is tough.
So springtime's kind of hot for you guys.
Springtime right now is hot. We had the last thaw we got that hole dug, and then I was in Florida when that got dug, and then I come home to all the snow and it set us back.
You were down there the same time I think I missed you by like a day, or we were down for our last day.
Maybe a day.
Yeah, we were down. And then Jamie Hinckley was down there for maybe a day when I was down there. And then Mike Escalera was down there the exact same time you were down there. We got a crew. We should just take a whole big crew down there and just rent a house.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, because I didn't really recognize him at first, but I think I ran into Mike Escalera at the Nike store right there in Kissimmee or Orlando.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I was looking at some clothes, and this guy come up to me. He looked really familiar, but I couldn't place him because I don't see him that often.
Right.
And he's like, hey, he shook my hand, and we was talking. And he's like, hey, how you doing? I said, good. And he said, talking about, he was buying a house, and I didn't know if he mistook me for somebody and that he knew. But I'm pretty sure now that you say that he was down there, that's who that was.
Mike was down there, and I think everybody did the same thing. So myself, Jamie, Mike, we all went to Disney and went to, well, I'm the only one I think that didn't go to Universal, but you guys went to Universal and stuff
we
too.
did, yeah. Our kids, well, we have two boys, 6 and 4. So,
when's the next one?
I've got 20, I'm going to have 30 patients. So my wife always says, because we live at one of our AFC homes, she always says, well, I've got 2 kids, 3 kids with my husband, and then 6 residents that we take care of. So she said that's enough.
Right. All right. I said I was enough too. I was, I got the 3 boys.
It was Mike.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, Mike, I didn't recognize that's who you was when I seen you. But I figured I was playing in my mind the whole time I was in Florida that, dude, that guy knew who I was, and I hate that. It drives me nuts.
Right. So. I'm down here in Florida. People know me. You're like a resident.
Yeah.
You guys are down there just as much as we are. So we should go down there and you take the kids down every time? You don't take them down every time, do you?
No, not every time. Sometimes, like our anniversary stuff that we do, and so, we do a lot of vacations with my aunt and my uncle, and we'd leave the kids with my mom and dad, and we catch a cruise.
She's living down there? Is she living down there now? Denise?
No. She's in Lake City. Yeah, she's in Lake City.
Oh, all right, good.
They're our vacation buddies, so they'll go with us everywhere we go.
Yeah. I was going to say, I love Denise.
Yeah.
I love Denise a lot. So there's a place down there called Sand on the Beach.
Okay.
It's a little restaurant. They have these Bang Bang shrimp, and their food's amazing. You have to go there. It's in Cocoa Beach.
See, I don't do seafood.
All right, but they still got good food.
Okay.
You should just go there. Just take my word. It's right on the ocean, and every time we're in there, it's not packed at all. It's beautiful. It's it's amazing.
Yeah, well, this is our first time because Owen's in school that we went during the spring break.
Right.
And we stayed close in Kissimmee, real close to a Walmart, and it was like Black Friday every day.
Oh,
it was awful.
That's rough.
I'm talking we would want to go and maybe just get a pack of hamburger buns or something because we were short, and it was
Take an
45
hour.
minutes.
Yeah, that's terrible.
45 just in line to get checked out. Yeah,
That's
it was
terrible.
awful.
So, guys, on here, what we do, if you're on the podcast, do me a favor, give it a like, give it a share. We want to let people know kind of Jordan's story and what Jordan's doing. And on this podcast, for those of you that are new to this podcast, we talk about money, business, motivation. Every Tuesday, I like to just kick off of how we talked about, a little bit about last week and things we're doing, and especially we get new people on here. We should have met up in Florida. I wish we would have met up in Florida, but we're going next time.
Yeah.
Next time. So on here, guys, what we're doing is we're just trying to reach out to small local entrepreneurs or people that are thinking about starting their own business up and give them some advice and let them know that absolutely anybody can do this. It's not. Well, you probably did better in school than I did, right?
Well, I wouldn't put your money on it, but
right. But here's the thing: is you don't have to be the most. You don't have to get straight A's in school. You should try.
Right.
And you don't have to go to some big Ivy League school. I went to school for 2 years. I don't have a degree, right? And so until I kind of got into sales, right, and we've had a tremendous amount of success on it. And then your story is the same. And it's awesome because I think out of all my friends, and I consider Jordan to be one of my close friends. Out of all I think I don't have many friends that are doing really well. I could give you a goal. And say put something on it the winner or the loser has to pay for our family vacation for all of us, and somebody that could be like, let's do it,
right?
Let's actually do it, and so it's fun. It helps you. There's no competition there. I don't have ASC homes. I'm not opening AFC homes, but it's fun. It's nice to be able to do that and see what you're doing for the community is amazing as well.
Well, and that's the thing. Like when we'll kind of get started on some of the things we had talked about is when we first started out. It was in 2011, April of 2011. Like I said, 7 years. And my wife and I, we bought a 10-bedroom, 4-bath house with the thought of, getting into the AFC.
Right. So you bought the house with the thought of this is what we want to try to do.
Yeah. Well, my mom's had an AFC home since 1998. So when I was 8 years old, we lived in the business and we took care of the patients.
Okay.
I'm kind of seeing that now with my kids is if I'm cooking dinner, they'll say, Dad, we want to be the servers. So they'll ask the patients, what do you want to dip your chicken in? And so they're going to kind of catch on, kind of like I did.
Cool. Do you have like a full blown sorry to interrupt you, but like a full blown kitchen, like not a normal kitchen, like a restaurant kitchen for these guys?
No, actually, all our homes are like really like home settings. So you would walk in, it doesn't look industrial at all. No, it's all
there's a family feel.
Yeah, like my Manton home where we're gonna go. We have 12 patients right now. We only have a dishwasher.
All right.
So that's just part of the routine and everything. It's just the way it goes.
That's nice. That that has I would probably want a dishwasher, but it's nice that you don't have somewhere they just get their food or whatever. You actually, you guys sit down and have meals together and stuff like that. I think that's absolutely amazing to have that. That's what people are looking for too. Is like, so what in Keystone we do placement for long-term care.
Okay.
And that's one of the biggest things we look for. And here's is just family settings. Like my grandmother's in a facility right now, and I would have loved to. I've been to your facility, the one in Manton, beautiful, gorgeous, and I've been to your one actually in Morristown too. So absolutely amazing. But what happens is that you're booked. Right? You have such an amazing setting, and we'll get into it more. But you have a waiting list for a little while as well.
Yeah, we do have a waiting list. I mean, everybody in the area has a waiting list. I mean, there's homes. There's another home in Lake City that one of my good friends owns, and I mean, they have a waiting list. You provide a good service, and you do good by the people and good by their families, and it's word of mouth. Like I have one patient right now, who I took care of his mom. She passed away just like maybe 4 days shy of 100 years old. So now I'm taking care of her son. And then now, I think this is going to be confusing, but his aunt is on like number one on my wait list. So that's just, those three from one family that's been in the last 2 years.
That's amazing. So I know we jumped ahead a little bit. Tell me about the start. The start is important for everybody. People that are out there, you're getting into it and I interrupted you. I apologize. But people that are out there that, are scared to take that jump, or people that have taken that jump, and that it seems a little rocky for a while. Tell us about, when you started and, like you said, the decision to buy the house.
April of 2011. Sorry, I got some stuff coming across here. So,
I know, I see it.
April of 2011, we had bought a home in Lake City from another couple that started it as AFC. I think maybe even their family had started it as AFC before them, had been in AFC for a long time. In hopes of me and my wife being able to, raise our family at home. That's what Mom always did. She did this work because she could make a good living and pay her bills, and never had to put us in daycare. So we got to be home, and we learned, how to take care of people and do the right thing by people. So we bought in 2011. I was still working outside of the home.
Yeah, I remember at one time you were working for the Sheriff's Department, right?
Yeah, I did a little work for the Sheriff's Department, and at the time in 2011, I worked for a home care company here in Cadillac.
Okay.
I was office manager, so I was kind of learning my ways there. But we was sitting at home with a 10-bedroom, 4-bath house. We had one patient that was living there out of 6 because we had just got licensed. And, I was bringing home maybe $1,500 a month net from the job, and plus the one patient at home. And our mortgage alone was $1,000, you know, which was a lot of money when I was 20. My wife was 18.
Yeah.
And so there was times, and there was times, multiple times where, we always made sure the mortgage was paid, but everything else was, potentially drawn out of a hat that month of how to get things to work.
Right. No, I feel you there. I feel your pain there. I do. Our startup was the same thing. And, a lot of times on here, Mary says that you guys have an absolutely amazing facility and amazing caregivers as well. And you're doing an amazing job. So, that just attests to what Jordan's doing. But I can tell you the same thing. When we started, I tell a lot of people, we cooked on a wood stove for our food because we didn't have propane for a while. And so some people mistake that the person on top of the mountain fell there, right? Like success just fell upon me or fell upon you. Mm-hmm. And the iceberg effect is you see the very tip, right? You see like the nice truck and the multiple facilities, and you say, man, that's great. Like most people don't ask how he got there. They're just kind of like, he's there. But you don't see the rest of that iceberg, the other 90% of the work, the dedication, the failure, right? The stressing out. And so that's a lot of it. And so I can relate to you on that. And so how long was it until you brought more residents in?
Oh, I mean, within just a few months. I mean, we was, but even we bought the home in April of 2011. We got licensed in September, so it was a while in between there where we were doing that balancing act. And then we got licensed in September, so October, November, 2 months later, we were full.
Good.
And
but I imagine that summer was rough.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And those are the summers where we look back and we're like, what we do now in the summertime, if we want to go, camp or whatever we might want to do,
right.
We always look back and say, we did that for a long time.
Right. Yeah. You got to put the work in. You get to enjoy some of it afterwards. Mother-in-law, not the aunt.
Yeah, it's Kathy's mother-in-law. I just didn't know how she was. It's related to Floyd, but that's okay. I told you I might screw it up.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. And so, continuing on, your first home, you got full residence in there. How long was it until were you already toying with the idea? So I love goals, right? Like I post goals all the time.
Yeah.
I keep my goals really public as well. That way, if I mess them up, people can hold me accountable. But was your goal like when you got the first house, we're going to do a second house, a third house, or did that kind of develop as you were creating
that
some
just developed
momentum?
That just developed as we was going because we got full, and then we stayed full, and the phone calls kept coming in, But we didn't do our second home till 2015. January of 2015 is when it opened. Yeah, so it was years.
Yeah, it takes time.
So
it takes
probably 3 years before we actually sat down and drew blueprints and found something that we could actually put up.
Right.
So for 3 years we were full, opening maybe at the longest a week before someone would come out and look at the room and move in. But, it was years. Like you said, it just took years.
Oh, it takes time. Yeah, nothing happens overnight.
Every 6 months we would look at, where we're at, what we're doing, and try to keep moving forward, try to keep, Candace did, there was times where we would 6-8 months when we first started and, we couldn't grocery shop together, because someone always had to be
there, right?
Someone's always got to be home.
So there's a question for you, and many people mistake this. And I believe it has a lot to do with power couples, right? I think you and your wife are definitely a power couple. You know what I mean? It'd be extreme.
She's the power.
Right. There you go. There you go. So my wife and I brought April into Keystone, and April's been in Keystone with me for 3 years now-ish. And now she's running our call center that we just opened. And she's developing everything for that and getting that going. A lot of people say, man, I don't know how you do it. I could never work with my wife. And the reality is, for me, and I imagine the same for you, I can't imagine not having my wife there because she does a lot of stuff that would be very, very challenging for me. And she's a workaholic. Like, I work a lot. I, oversee stuff. She's down in the nitty gritty. Like, she's getting stuff done, right? And so is that the same for you?
Yeah, there's multiple times where I'm gone at, by 7. And, I'll be rolling in maybe at 11, with just the day and how it goes, depending. I might get home for lunch or something in between, but not very often. But, I leave at 7, and maybe she's got, 1 or 2 patients up at that time. But by the time I get home, everyone's back in bed, and I know that the whole routine was already taken care of. And the house is spotless, and maybe it wasn't spotless when I left that morning, So it didn't do it by itself.
Right,
so.
She's getting it. That's awesome. That's amazing. Well, a big kudos to you. I know your wife is killing it, right? So big kudos to her. Is it? I'll ask you this question because the first thing comes to my mind was you have 6 people living with you. Like, is the privacy hard to get?
It's not terrible. I mean, it's our lifestyle now,
Right.
Because the patients that we have that live with us in our home have, we've had a lot of longevity. I mean, one guy's been with us since we've opened.
Oh, wow.
So he's just like another family member to us.
See, and one of the things that I think about on my end is that would break me down. So we become close to our clients because we invest with them. We do health insurance, life insurance. And then towards the end of life, we put them into care such as yours, right? And when they pass, that really takes a toll. And what it does to help, because we're both young, I think this really puts life in perspective. When you see people passing, it's life, but it makes you appreciate life and not take it so much for granted. And so I imagine that's got to be challenging for you to really get to know these people, start to love these people, right? And then
so as many times as it's happened in 7 years, it doesn't ever get any easier.
Right.
We've seen people who have it's been like a peaceful passing, and then there's been people who have struggled in the end.
Yeah,
and so that's where, the sleepless nights for me, and, because the family's there all night long by the bedside, we're then doing like hospice medication maybe every hour.
Right.
And so those are the types of things where you get really close with the family, and it's tough at times because you do. I mean, you know them. Like I know the patients. I know their date of births. I know their family. And when my dad worked for me, we had one gentleman unexpectedly had passed away, and my dad grew up with that guy. I mean, my dad's 52, and this guy was in his 80s. So they grew up around Grandma's farm for so many years.
Right.
And when he passed away, my dad came over to the property but couldn't go up to the house, because he's just like, I just can't do it.
Right.
And so that's how tough it is, where, you almost want to take yourself out of the situation, but I can't,
well, and here's the thing too, on a different level, we're gonna dive more into this in a minute, but after you deal with somebody passing for so many times, or people passing, like it doesn't get any easier. I agree with that with clients, but what happens is you do develop a skill set. Like what needs to happen, how it needs to happen, and a lot of these families. So in our cases with investments, life insurance, probate, right, wills and trusts, is what we do during that time of passing is almost priceless because we come in and we try to handle everything as smoothly and as effortlessly as possible for these families that are in grieving and that are going through stuff cannot have to worry about that. Mm-hmm. We did one. This is crazy. We just did one where we consolidated. This guy had 16 different policies, and I thought to myself, oh, like my goodness, like if this guy would have passed away, his children would have been in for a nightmare, right? And so we're really happy to help get their stuff together. And I imagine, Sam, on your end, you've been through it quite a bit, unfortunately. But the level of service and care you're able to provide now, like just knowing the steps, I would assume it makes it makes it easier, right?
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is a lot of times if it's the family's first time of having someone pass or they don't understand exactly the the dying process or something of that matter, is that we've seen it, and along with hospice and some of the material that they have for people to read and stuff, so we can kind of walk them through of, mom has now stopped eating,
right.
Now she's in bed, and we turn her every hour and make sure she doesn't get sore, and, she's going to start, instead of taking her oral meds that she used to swallow, she no longer do that. We're going to go to liquid medication, and just walk them through that process, and that's the part of that I like about our home. And even some of the homes in the area do the same thing. Is someone moves in, so let's say you moved Grandpa in, and he's able to take his own shower and do everything by himself. He's like the perfect patient. You don't have to do anything for him, but make sure he's safe and gets fed and gets his pills. Well, if he lives there for 10 years and he gets worse, and he declines,
right,
and he's getting to where he needs hospice and stuff, we do everything all the way through the end of life care. So. It's not like the family's like, oh, well, now that Grandpa's getting bad, we've got to move him to somewhere like a nursing home where, nursing homes do the best they can with the staff that they have, but it's like a staff ratio of like maybe 1 to 25,
right? Yeah,
and our staff ratio is 1 to 6.
Which is, everybody's getting good care,
right?
So, tell me, I think that's amazing that you do that. Tell me, fast forwarding just a little bit, right? When was it? You said you started your second home in when now? Sorry.
January of 2015.
January of 15. And was that your Manton home that you have right now?
Yep.
Is that your second home?
Yeah, we started as a 6-bed there, and then July of last year we opened the second wing. We went from 6 to 12.
Right.
And now we're going in 18. We're going to take the other side of the home because it's separated by a firewall. We're going to take the other side of the home and have 12 over there. So we'll have 2 12 beds on one property.
Right.
So 24, and then our home of 6.
Right. That's exciting. That's exciting to grow. So if you want to add anything in here, you can absolutely add whatever you want, Jordan. But so in my head, I think 24 homes or 24 beds is what you're going towards, and then you have 6 like. On that, you obviously can't do it on your own, right?
No.
And your wife, as amazing as she is, she probably cannot do all that on her own.
Yeah, well, I mean, she has 6 patients at home, and then obviously we do have her brother-in-law that lives with us. He has a seizure disorder, so we do have an extra person plus our 2 kids. But I 100% feel confident when I leave the house, all 6 patients, and if it's weekend or something, both of the boys and then the brother-in-law is all taken care of. So she's got 9 people.
Right.
To herself. And I know that I don't have to worry about the Lake City location. And then as far as my staff goes at the Manton facility, I mean, just phenomenal people.
Right.
I mean, I'm not just saying that because that's what I'm here to say. But
well, I think it's important too, and I'll let you continue, but it's important as you are smaller and as you build with the intent of like you're only as important as the people in front of you. Mm-hmm. That environment, like if you've ever worked in a big box office place or like a chain place, that environment doesn't exist, right? And so be able to do that with local people that know you is phenomenal. So,
and the other thing I would like to say is, like you said, you can't do it by yourself. And that was one of the hardest struggles that I've had in having a bigger facility where it's staffed around the clock and I can't be in two places at once because for the first 3 years, Candace and I did everything ourselves. We did all the doctor's appointments. We'd always make sure they had all their meds, all of the care, everything. And now I've had to learn to let go of the reins a little bit at the Manton house because I just can't be there all the time. If I'm out doing doctor's appointments, I have to be able to count on my staff to do the daily routine, call me if there's issues, or, just take it upon themselves that, everybody that I have that works for me has the common sense of, just taking the initiative and getting it done. I had one staff today, she got done working at 5 o'clock. And we had to run down and get some meds. So she got done at 5. She ran to the pharmacy for me and brought some meds back. You don't find that where people, it's time to punch out and they're gone, But they know that the patients need something, or they know that I wasn't around to, run down there and get it. So they always take that initiative. They're always filling in for each other's shifts if they can't make it. We do our schedule a month in advance. Gives them time to switch and swap if they want to.
Right.
But, I mean, just their compassion for the patients is what we look for the most because they're the client.
Have you? So this is business, so we will talk, a lot in business as well. So I don't want you to. I don't need a real bad story, but have you in process? So I'll give you an example. Keystone Retirement Services. We've had some people that we brought in, and we really wanted them to be like amazing. Mm-hmm. They talked a phenomenal game. And we've had to let them go because of like ethics or anything. Have you went through that? Is that challenging to try to find the right people for your facilities?
Well, a lot of, and see, this speaks a lot to the home environment, not as much as like the management of the home, but the actual people that work there recruit my other employees.
That's good. Birds of a feather flock together.
Yeah.
Right?
So I think I have maybe 14 employees total. Right. And I think I hired maybe 6 of them.
Right.
And then the rest of them, I said, hey, guys, we're looking to expand. We need someone to help on afternoon shift. And they'll say, well, here's somebody. Or they'll just bring someone over. Hey, I wanted to introduce you to so-and-so. She's got a resume. She's done this for a long time. I told her that we love it here and, that this is where she'd want to work and this is where she'd want to be. And so that takes a lot off me, I mean, once in a blue moon, maybe once every 2 years or once every year, we run an ad maybe looking for, and that's only during times of expansion when we really need to maybe hire multiple people.
Right.
So, but even now, I've got some of my staff that are, maybe doing some recruiting for me.
Right. Yeah. Good. I got a question for you. And again, you can break and touch on whatever you want as we're going through. But in the last, 8 years of doing this, roughly 7 years of doing this. What are, have you had some like overwhelming challenges that you had to come up against, like that things that just didn't pan out that you had to overcome and kind of work through, and even though it was overwhelming at the time?
Nothing that really sticks out.
That's good.
Well,
that's good. I get beat up, you know what I mean? So that's good.
Well, and I think that's a lot goes back to my team, because, they'll call and they'll say, hey, so-and-so's not doing well. Maybe they look like they're about to pass out or whatever. Those are things that when we're dealing with people's lives, it's a big deal.
Right.
So I always say, hey, get me a set of vitals. I'm on my way. Get a hold of the ambulance. We're on our way. We're going to get it taken care of.
Right.
So they take a lot of that on their shoulders, and they take a lot of that initiative, like I said, to get things done in the home. So that really helps avoid the disastrous stuff that can happen.
Right.
And another thing is if I have a staff or one of my ladies that work for me at the Manton house, they there's always that time where they maybe he did something not 100% the right way, or that I didn't, that maybe I would have done it differently, but I don't ever belittle them or anything. I always say, hey, what you did wasn't wrong. Say, hey, but if you try it this way, let me know how it works. It's a team effort and a building effort. So
I agree. So Crystal has an awesome question on here.
Oh, Crystal?
Yeah, she just said, break down, you talk about the way that people pay for the AFC programs. A lot of people, this is true. A lot of people, think that they can't afford it. That's especially true for when we talk about placement, in retirement planning or estate planning. Mm-hmm. That's a big area we talk about because there is a lot of rising costs and there is a lot of costs associated with that. What's some of your thought on that?
So we have what's called a base rate. So we have a rate that we have to get to for someone to be able to move in. Okay. So let's say, for easy figures, let's say someone has to move in and it's $1,000 a month. Okay, so maybe you're wanting to move Grandpa in and his Social Security is only $600. Okay, well, we would love to take care of him, but we also have to be able to keep the doors open.
Right.
So we always have that rate that we're looking to get to. And so we have, we do some with the VA. There's some aid and attendant stuff that the VA will pay for. There's obviously their Social Security funds or maybe a pension. We take a big, broad picture of what their income is. IRA stuff that they might have to dip into if they're looking to do long-term care, if they maybe had like a disability or something.
Right.
And that's maybe something you'll be able to touch on a little more.
Yeah.
But another thing that we do have is, like, for example, maybe what Crystal's referring to is her mom lives with us and is low income. And her care, she's been, with us on hospice for, I think, 18 months she's been on hospice, and she's just wonderful.
Right.
And so, her care, because she's in her room, in her bed, she had a hip injury and stuff, 80% of the time. And so her care level is probably the higher care levels that we have in the entire home. Right. So her base rate would not be the $1,000.
It'd be more, right? Because it needs more extensive care.
So what we've done, and what Crystal's done, is she's really big on doing her research and stuff. We are Medicaid contracted. So when someone who is on low income that has Medicaid, there is a program in Traverse City, and there's programs all over, but program that we partner with out of Traverse City that does, it's My Choice Waiver, and they come in and they bring a nurse and they bring a social worker down and they figure out what their care needs are, and they qualify them for the program, which is the same program that they would have to qualify through to get into a nursing home.
Right.
And then they reimburse the home for the hands-on care part. So the family's only responsible for a portion of that base rate, which is, what their income is. So
right.
They pay what their income is. They get some spending money every month, and then we bill the personal care hours to the program in Traverse City, and they're wonderful.
So I think that is huge, right? If you guys caught that, that's absolutely massive. Because our industries are very, very, I won't say similar, but tied together, because we do a lot of the placement. There are so many programs out there that people are not aware of at all, right? People just don't know they exist. Like when one spouse goes into a home and another spouse is trying to maintain a lifestyle, there's certain rules that apply for the other spouse that's
right.
there.
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to dig into that stuff, but there's a lot of rules out there that people need specialists for placement. I'm going to say myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Keystone, but for services like yourself, that people that specialize in that area to help that. Too many people, there's a huge, and we're in the space, so it's a little different, but there's a huge misconception, and it was like this for a while, my personal opinion, that once somebody goes on a Medicaid, or if they're on Medicaid, that they're going to get a lower quality of care.
Right.
And I say it was like this for a while for one reason, and I don't mean recently. I mean back in the day, there was different types of care. If you were paying $10,000 a month or the state was paying so much money, the level of care was different. But it's amazing to me that somebody that might be paying, because the cost is high, right? Somebody that might be paying out of pocket, somebody else that can't afford it but needs your care gets that opportunity.
I have people who are low income on Medicaid that live right in the same home and get the same care as someone who pays privately out of pocket every single month and has, maybe a private insurance policy or something like that. There is no, when you move in to our home, we have a level of care that's, we want to get to across the board.
So let me ask you this: we've seen this. It was back in. I'm trying to think when it was an issue. Probably 2008. Years probably before your time. 2008. Have you ever heard of? Well, in the industry, really, but your mom, I know. So there was a lot of issues with certain companies. I'm not going to talk about any companies that were actually having trouble because the long-term care industry, obviously, we offer that service, long-term care, and we used to really push it, right? We used to offer it to almost everybody. They expected for long-term care to be like life insurance. 1 in 4 people will just drop their life insurance. So they thought that retention rate was going to stick with long-term care. Long-term care actually has bankrupt more insurance companies than it's made big, right? They don't even offer traditional long-term care insurance anymore. Have you guys ever experienced, or maybe as your mother that you know of ever experienced, like where you have a patient, their needs need to be met, they have a plan, but the plan isn't paying yet? Have you ever ran into that?
I haven't ran into that in any of my homes, but I did just recently partner with an awesome couple out of Falmouth and put up a 12-bed home over there. The Ebels family, this Quiet Creek AFC. And the very first thing that they ran into was, we're going to move so-and-so in. He's got a long-term care policy. Well, through John Hancock. I don't know if that rings a bell to you.
I know John. Yeah, okay. I used to work with him.
So anyway, that doesn't mean anything to me.
Right.
I don't care if it's Geico, John Hancock, doesn't matter. So we get everything all set up, and then we send everything in, and they need more paperwork. So then we send it all in. It was a month in, a good solid month in before we even had the paperwork in. And then they said, oh yeah, everything looks good. We're willing to pay X amount of dollars a day, a good rate, not a problem. It'll pay for his care. And but we won't start paying for 180 days.
Right.
So then we have then that leaves us to go to the family and say, hey, here's how much it's going to cost for him to stay, or care, get his care up until that kicks in, because 180 days is six months.
Right.
So
I'll tell you this, just for future reference, if you ever do that. So we are licensed with the state for long-term care. That's like, you have to get licensed now to do that in our industry. If you ever run into stuff like that, call me.
Okay.
Call me, because I know that paperwork with John Hancock, Banker, like all of them, like the back of my hand. We do that every day. So a lot of times, that's why I said it's challenging, right? You don't know a lot of that.
We had a questionnaire of 70 questions,
right?
Of stuff that didn't even apply to the setting that he was living in, because a lot of those questions were geared towards a nursing home,
right?
And we're not a nursing home.
Yeah, and so I think that's extremely important. So just keep that in mind, right?
Okay.
If you ever reach out, depending on the case, I will tell you there's fee for service.
Yeah.
Depending on the case, but if it's real simple, we can go through it. And then big things like if you say, hey, there's a guy that has a long-term care policy, because they're not out there everywhere. But the reality is that they are out there, right? The long-term care policies, like I say, good planning is done early and often. I wish everybody that had a decent estate would have one.
Right.
But we can go in and tell you what the elimination period is, what it's going to look like, what's going to cover what. We've had one. We did a placement on one. Just a quick story where we put them in a home, and in that home, what's up, Phil? That Rico, love that guy. Jatango, we're gonna take off.
Yeah, that's what you keep telling me.
I know it. I talked to Jordan about Jatango too. But we placed him in a home, and they said, we're not going to cover it. Long-term care is not going to cover it. And I went back, and there was a lot of paperwork to be done, but we actually got Medicare to cover the first 90 days.
Okay.
And so I think their elimination period was 100 days. And so we got Medicare to cover the first 90, and then their plan kicked up, and so the family was only billed for 10 days.
Okay.
Right? And
so how does that work now for AFC? Because Medicare does not pay for AFC placement.
Right. There's a lot to it. Okay. We'll have a conversation about it, because a lot of it is the way things are worded, right? A lot of it's the way things are worded. Whether it's skilled care, recovery care, or AFC home, like whatever it is, we did one with an AFC home. So I can tell you it will be done, or it can be done, but they have to be meeting certain levels of need every single day. Okay. And so,
well, that's good to know, because I've always told everybody, and I've billed them in the past, but the patient has passed now. So up until this last one that just happened in February of this year. It had been probably a good solid 18 to 24 months since I had even laid eyes on paperwork for a long-term care policy.
Right. I know it, because they're few and far between.
Right, and like you're saying, if they change that much, it doesn't matter if it's been 6 months since I've looked at that paperwork. It's probably would have changed by now.
I guarantee it. They change a lot, and so keep that in mind. One hand always washes the other. I think that's really important. What you have some things you want to tell? I know you told me you had some certain things you really wanted to touch on before I move on.
No, but we were talking about the employee thing.
We cover
we talked about the employee thing. I did make some notes before I come because I'm not gonna lie, I was extremely nervous for this for a couple days. So, but like I touched on, being able to have the teamwork inside the company where everybody's has the client's best interest at hand is what makes it work. We have a drama-free workplace. I just don't deal well with that.
I think that's important,
and everybody knows that I don't deal well with that. And so, but I have some staff who do, 130 hours a pay period, and going to chop my fingers off if I give them any less hours.
Right. So one thing, the nice part about,
and they don't complain about it. I mean, they show up, they do it, and they pick up every shift, and they just are wonderful.
So being a business owner in a small town or a small area, and being a small business owner, there's certain perks you get with that. And so I'm curious to know what some of yours are. So I'll give you some of mine. I give them. We like to go out for Christmas parties, get a little extravagant, right? Probably more than they should. And then we want to do a summertime like a picnic program with them. We like to offer like additional trips depending on productivity and sales because we're sales driven.
Right.
And then other things is like I give them discounts up until I just sold Dark Side Tattoo. We used to give them discount on tattoos. We don't anymore. I don't own it. It's weird to say that. We do discounts on our bounce houses. We do a lot of small discounts here and there, things that we try to help out because being a small business owner, we really try to go above and beyond.
I love Crystal.
Yeah, she's dropping another.
Yeah, she's awesome. So she's one, and Crystal, maybe you can touch on this in a comment. She's one who's had her mother in the larger facilities.
Okay.
And then found our place through Commission on Aging had put together like a tour of homes where everybody could go to the senior center, load up on one of the public transports, and go around to the homes and check them out. Do a walkthrough. I did a presentation. We did door prizes. It was in the fall. I believe it was in the fall. We had like cider and donuts and everything. And we just, when you walk in and you see that it's a home environment that doesn't smell like urine or whatever, it just is clean and nice. That's actually how she found us. And she was waiting for that addition to be built. I mean, counting the minutes for that addition to be built to get Mom out of one of the larger facilities. And
that's got to say so much for what you guys do, right? Just to have that. I think that's absolutely amazing. Chris, I'm glad you were able to work with these guys. I think that's absolutely amazing. You can continue with that. I talk about it before in the post that I ran. Like I believe, this is my opinion, just so we're clear, I believe you have set like a very, very high bar, not only for Medicaid, I think you set an extremely high bar, but for locally, like, do you try to like push other people that you know in AFC homes to like give them ideas to do better, to do more, to give a little more? Or is everybody really on board?
Yeah, some of the people that I know that own homes, we do communicate back and forth, and we do bounce ideas off each other. Well, my mom owns a home. She still does. So, she does some of the younger population where it's more of like a developmentally disabled or, some maybe community mental health patients. And we do more of the geriatric population. So, but our Lake City home, we do have some younger folks. And it's easy to partner with your mom when she's your mom, but she'll say, hey, I can, the local is how we work. But the local people down at the Lafreniers down at the bowling alley say, hey, we're going to let you rent, couple lanes for $25 an hour, and you can bring as many people as you want. And then, Ellen and Jeremy next door or whatever, maybe throw us a couple pizzas or whatever. But there's just the community that we're in is awesome. So we do partner, like with my mom, it's easy, but we can get the patients out, give them into some activities and stuff. But even in home, just to kind of touch on what Crystal's saying about what it's a social environment like in an AFC is we try to bring as much of the community to them as if they can't, come up to us. We've had the local football team come in.
I saw that. And I thought that was awesome. Yeah, I saw that. I thought that was amazing.
My kids come in and, run around and talk to the patients, and they know all of them by name.
Right.
We have people who, before one gentleman passed, the family would bring a grill over on Labor Day. We'd grill out for them. It's just so hard to get the fragile people out into the community.
Right.
But some of the folks who I have quite a few veterans, World War II veterans, Vietnam War veterans and stuff. So Labor Day parade, we load them up. We do an Ohana float, and I've taken people through on a Polaris Razor before, all dressed out in their dress.
Right.
Their dress VFW suits. So, yeah, and like she said, when it was maybe this past summer, Karen Waldrop had come up from Nashville to do a concert in Manton. Well, we was one of the sponsors to get her up here, and I had reached out to her prior, and we took her around in the Suburban to all the local businesses that helped support. And she actually came up and played 4 songs right in the AFC home. That's with awesome. The guy who plays saxophone. Right in the home for the people, and she was, pretty choked up to see some of the World War vets and sitting there. And a couple times she couldn't get through the music. She just was so touched at what happens, and what takes place. And
that's amazing. I think that's amazing that you guys have that out there. I want to touch on something that is really important and not. I don't think a lot of people understand it. Is you guys you advertise it is that you work with dementia, right, and Alzheimer's. A lot of people don't understand how much care goes into that, right? And so can you touch, because here's the thing, guys, is that I work with this a lot too. Like, unfortunately, as dementia or Alzheimer's gets worse, it doesn't always get violent, right? And so some of those things that you have to work through are extremely challenging. On those things, do you have, can you tell us maybe an incident or two where?
Yeah, we've had, there's a huge difference between the World War II vets who are just inappropriate and know that they can get away with it versus the ones that don't know that maybe what they're up to, And I say that kind-heartedly because we have some patients who are, we'll just tell the staff, if you come over here, I'm going to grab your, pinch your leg. So, but that's the kind of stuff that we enjoy, and that's kind of a fun thing for everybody. But there has been times where we've taken patients in and, their Alzheimer's or their dementia is so far advanced that, you put food in front of them. They, if they don't want it, they might flip the plate, or they might, they might holler at someone else for maybe just coughing at the table or something. They just don't have any idea of maybe what's going on.
Right.
And so we do it as a positive reinforcement and a gentle teaching approach. We're always like, hey, it's okay. Everything's okay. They have. I like to tell all my staff, they have every right in the world, and they can do no wrong, and we are always in the background, and we have, very little rights compared to what they have, and, if they do something wrong, figure out a way to tell them that it's okay, because there's no sense in arguing with a dementia Alzheimer's patient because that's a way to escalate.
Right. Yeah.
And so figure out a way to put that on. Oh, I'm so sorry, I spilt that, and let me get that cleaned up for you, type thing. And then that puts their mind in a positive, frame of mind. So it is tough at times when you get a patient where you maybe can't get them calmed down or something like that. But I've had that before where they'll call me and say, hey, so-and-so is really upset, and I'll go over there, and maybe sometimes it's just me walking in, and they know that the manager's there, and maybe they recognize me or whatever, but I'll say, hey, I got to run to Cadillac and get some lumber for the addition. You want to ride with me? And I'll just take them with me. Boom. Take them off the staff's hands, give them a break, and then by the time they get back, we'll grab a cheeseburger and a chocolate shake, and then they'll be fine. Right. So it's just we're constantly playing the game of figuring out what the solution is going to be at that point in time, because what you did yesterday that worked might not work today.
Yeah, I know it. That's why I said. We're blinking over here. Just make sure we're good.
Who's blinking?
We're blinking. Every time that mic blink or the light blink, it messes with me. There's always like a glitch, right?
Oh, well, so the guy out front said you're not.
Boom. Glitch. I told you.
Oh, the guy out front said you're not allowed to touch the mic.
I know it, dude. I get yelled at. I get yelled at for touching the mic. Let's see if it comes back up. I'll have to wait a second. Meeker! Oh, all right. It's fixed.
Okay. We're just behind on the lag.
We're behind on the lag, and if I just yelled really loud into everybody's ear, I apologize.
You did.
Yeah, I know it. I'm sorry. So, sorry for that. Sometimes we have little glitches, guys. It happens. So, that's a big thing that I was talking about, though, is I know it's really, really challenging to do that, and you guys, go above and beyond for your care. And I think that's absolutely amazing. You know what I mean? I can't say I wish more people did it because I don't know who is out there, right?
Right.
But I wish there was more facilities.
I wish more people would do it for the right reasons.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Everyone looks at what we've done and looks at what other AFC owners have done and what we've accomplished and what we do for a living and what we get to do with our spare time and stuff. And they're like, oh, well, let's get into the AFC business. That must be the one to get into. Right. Well, it's tough, and it's right. and I mean, I've had people come to me before and ask for my assistance in helping open an AFC home like the one we did in Falmouth because they knew our reputation. We knew them on a personal level. And, we got it open January 8th of this year, and they're full with a waiting list.
That's amazing. So let's get this. We'll kind of get into wrapping her up a little bit. We're going about 50 minutes. We're doing good. Do you have anything you want to touch on before we start wrapping it up? I got a couple questions for you.
Okay. Yeah, and if there's any other questions out there that might be out there, I'd be glad to answer them here before we shut down. I do want to give one shout out. I don't know if she's on here or not, but there's a lady by the name of Jeannie Garwood. We cared for her mom, and she was our very first, maybe in 2012 or 2013, our very first dementia patient that we ever had. Because when we first opened, when you're new into AFC, you take anybody that wants to move in because you need to make ends meet, So as time went on and she found us to take care of her mom, she moved in, and that changed our whole entire outlook on who we want to care for and how we want to direct our company and what we want to do in the future. Right. And so now we take care of her dad since her mom has passed.
So that's amazing to me what you just said. So you got a dementia person that came on. You took everybody on that you could right away to get people, and I'm just reiterating this. And then you had one dementia person, and that changed the focus of what you guys wanted to work on. And now you guys you advertise, right? Alzheimer's dementia. That blows me away, and I think that's amazing because here's one of the biggest things is that's a pretty challenging road. Right. A lot of people would do the exact opposite. A lot of people would fill their homes, fill their beds. This is only with my knowledge of Alzheimer's and dementia, mm-hmm. right? And get one or two Alzheimer's dementias, and we'll call places for placement because we do placement. Yeah, not all the time, but I guarantee you twice a quarter we'll do placement. And we'll call, and I already have a list of people that I know after calling so many times they do not take dementia people. Yep. Right. And so I think it's amazing that you specialize in dementia, which is a much more challenging road to move forward on. I think that's amazing that you do
It's much more challenging and it's much more rewarding.
I agree.
I mean,
you're right.
It's almost like, especially with like when we see Crystal commenting a lot, but her mom has dementia.
Right.
And so I go in every day I'm there and I'm like, all right, hey mom, I call her mom. I'm here to steal my hug before I go home. Well, where are you going? She's always checking on me. She has no idea who I am, but she's always checking on me. So
I think that's amazing.
It's nice to be able to have that. So what's she saying?
Oh, for somebody that loved, for somebody that's making that change, where should they start?
For skilled nursing?
Yeah.
I don't know as far as changing from skilled nursing to AFC. I know that from AFC to skilled nursing, you got to do a lot of like the accreditation. You got to, because nursing homes are Medicare funded, so there's a lot of qualifying for Medicare payment that takes. You got to get your nurses on staff and stuff like that. So I would imagine the scaling back from that is the exact opposite process. I don't know, but I know that there's so many nursing homes in the area that are full all the time that with the right management, they probably would never have to scale back to AFC unless they got a management in there that's seen the difference in care and wanted to scale back and maybe be a premier AFC. I don't know if that's a possibility or not. But what last questions do you have? I have a few just community partner things that I wanted to.
Okay, so this is one big one, and this is kind of where we start to wind down a little bit. I appreciate everybody that's on here greatly. Again, if you guys know Jordan and know his story, make sure you give it a share. Make sure you give it a like. We're big on supporting local here. Not only supporting local, but every Tuesday at 7 o'clock, you can see a different local person. We try to keep a different local person on every single week. Last week we had the superintendent of the school on here talking about the bond proposal. The week before that.
Well, that vote's coming up, by the way. I did have that in my notes, too.
Yeah, that vote is coming up. I think that's a big deal. You
yeah.
know, I mean, it costs a little bit of money, but I think the overall positivity of what it's going to do for the kids, and I think that having her on here really opened my eyes to a lot of it because she hit on some amazing points. Yeah. And so I thought that was great. Before that, we had Eric Podbilski on here, and he's a successful person.
I missed the Jen Brown one live. I've watched every podcast since it's launched.
I love that you're.
I try to throw comments on.
Yeah, I love that you got on there.
But I missed that one live, but I made sure to watch it. Like, I woke up in the morning, and then that's what woke my wife up. She's like, "What are you watching?" I'm like, "Well, the podcast from last night, you know." So, but I think I'm not 100% sure, but I think I know or have known Jen in the past, and for them to build a team like that. In the $100 million figure, and then figuring out where they're at today and basing it off child safety and wants versus needs is, I mean, that just shows that that's the right person for that position.
And it is. She's an amazing person for the position. I'm excited to see this bond proposal go through because I believe it will. I hope that it will. So here's one of my big questions: is that for you, if somebody out there, and we ask this to everybody, right? Because I like different opinions. I like different stuff. But if somebody out there is starting their own business or toying with the idea of starting their own business, one thing that I always tell them is that opportunity and greatness come on the opposite side of fear, right? It's dangerous. It's scary. There's times where you're like, you don't know, like you said, you pick out of a hat what bill you're going to pay this week. We do that. We did that with Next Level for a while when they first started, right? And because it isn't easy, guys. If it was easy, everybody would do it. Right. If this care and the skill level is easy, everybody would do that. See, I have to challenge this. Olivia just got on and said best boss out there. I take a lot of pride in being the best boss out there. Jordan's an amazing boss. I know that.
We actually, when we was just in Florida, she went with us.
Oh. Uh-huh. I've never done that. All right.
So you lose.
I do lose on that. If you got to go to Florida, I do lose on that. We're going on a cruise. We're taking our top producers on a cruise this year.
Okay. See, and
I'm touching up to you. See what's happening?
I was going to touch on that too, is because if I was going to reward my staff, like you can based on sales, if I was to reward the staff that I have and for what they do, I would have to find something to do for them every single day.
Right.
And that just is the way it is. You know, like you may be able to reward somebody for what they've done last month.
Top sales of the month. Right.
We top sales of the month.
We got title belts. You see those things?
Yeah, well, I should get a belt for being on here.
Right. There you go.
But anyway, so that's what I'm saying is like it's easy. And maybe it's not easy, but
it's fun. We keep it live. Sales is, there's some emotion attached to it when you develop the relationship with the clients, but we do, and it's frowned upon, but I love it. I eat it up. We do a lot of cold calling to find our leads, and you get beat up on cold calling, and so you have to keep them.
I couldn't do that.
Right, you have to keep them like excited and incentivized. Where the nice part on your end is you have an amazing staff, but you get to really, you know what I mean. Other than the challenges that you overcome on a daily basis with like the people you work with, you get to really build a wonderful relationship with these people and long-term relationships, and that's very rewarding in itself.
And to touch on that last question that you had as far as if someone was to want to start a business or be their own boss or whatever, Tanya's on there, the one that cannot thank Jordan enough for helping us get Quiet Creek. She's the RN that's running that Falmouth home.
Okay.
4 months in, and licensing was just there on Monday, and I had gone in on Sunday, made sure everything was good to go, walked them through maybe what the process would be with him being there, and I think they came out with maybe one suggestion, not even a rule, but a suggestion that he thought something should be in the employee files. But as far as the entire premises, the resident care and everything, huge kudos to those guys. Her heart's in it, and that's what I meant about people getting into it for the right reason.
That's it.
So, and what I told them, because this did happen, people have come to me and want to start their own business, and you want to know what the advice I would give is, one, make sure your heart's in it. And two, like my mom has always told me, everything looks better on paper. So put everything on paper prior,
Right.
because you don't want to, if you put it on paper, you don't want to jump in, and already know that you're going into the hole. You know,
right.
so you want it to look really good on paper. And that way, if for some reason there's an unexpected expense or bump in the road or something like that, it can still look okay on paper after that bump.
Right. I agree.
And
I
so-
agree. Not enough people do that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I get pitched all the time.
Yeah.
And you got pitched a couple times. You've messaged me a couple times,
Yeah.
like so-and-so's pitching me.
Yeah.
Gotta get your advice on this. So I think that's amazing. What we have to do, so I think it's...
What's up, Wheels?
Yeah, I see that. I think it's absolutely amazing you come on. I appreciate you coming on. I want you to be able to hit on whatever you have to hit on still.
Yeah, your wife's just now joining. What's she been up to?
Nothing.
You got her out. You got her out being busy.
I think she was at actually, I do a coach. I'm coaching the Twins' team this year for T-ball.
I did that last year. Never again.
Oh, this is my 4th year coaching, and I'm assistant coaching for my son's slow pitch, and so Eli slow pitch, and so I'm rooted, man. I'm in Lake City. I ain't going nowhere. I got kids for days going through that system. I got a little girl on the way too.
Yeah. So one thing that you said week runs from Tuesday to Tuesday. Well, I believe, unless I'm wrong, Barbara Bush had passed away in the last week.
Yes, absolutely.
And one thing that I found in 2011 that I based everything off of, my entire company from day one, is one of her quotes, and it just happened to come through a couple days ago back across Facebook of what one thing she said, and is never lose sight of the fact that the most important yardstick of your success will be how you treat other people, your family, friends, and coworkers, even the strangers you meet along the way.
I love that.
So, and for that to pop up before I come here, because that's what I based everything off back then, is no matter what, you always treat people with respect, no matter anything. So the other day we was pulling out of my driveway, and after that big snow, when we got home, I had thrown the plow back on as much as it pissed me off to do so.
Right.
We were pulling up, and then my neighbor, probably in his mid-60s, 70s, was out shoveling, 12 to 18 inches of that heavy snow, and barely making a dent. And I had both of my boys with me. So I drove past him at first, and I'm like, what? That guy's never going to get done. This is a long driveway. So I back up, and Owen and Hank are like, Dad, what are you doing? I said, well, so we're going to try to figure out, see if we can help this guy. I said, do you want me to back up there and push that snow down and open it up for you with the V-plow? Well, I don't have any money to pay. It was the first thing that came out of his mouth. And I said, don't worry about it. I'm just a neighbor down the road, you know. And so just putting it in, sowing the seed, doing the things that you need to in the community, and then Owen, after we left, and said, see, Dad, he didn't have any money, but we just helped him out. And that come from a 6-year-old.
And those life lessons are so important, right?
So, and I just told him, I said, we always try to help.
Pay it forward.
Yeah.
Pay it forward. I think that's amazing, man. I tell you this, we talked about this. She does most of my work. She doesn't do all my work. She does a lot of my work. We've touched on this a lot. Jordan and I have a decent amount of communication outside of, obviously, this.
When you answer your phone.
I get that all the time.
I stopped by your office the other day because I was in town. Yeah, and I called the number on the door.
We've never taken it down.
Yeah. Thank you for calling cash advance. I'm like, this ain't the right number.
Right. We've never taken that
So
down.
April unlocks the door. I'm like, that number has to come down.
Yeah, we got to get up. We've been in there 2 years.
Right.
And that number's still on there. It's not, so what we have to do is like once a month, we got to get our families together.
Oh, yeah.
My boys might kind of, they might not be good influence on your boys. My twins, they're wrestlers. They wrestle all the time.
Oh, you have no idea.
Right,
about
so there you
wrestling.
go.
Last night we was up till 11 o'clock watching WWE.
Right. So we do the same thing. We do the same thing. So, but we have to make it. We have to get our families together more. It's because
I was always a huge fan of Ronda Rousey in the MMA.
Right.
So now we went down to Detroit.
I remember.
So
we saw you the day.
And so now before. Owen, I'm not even awake yet in the morning, and if he had come into our bed at night, I'm waking up to an armbar.
That's good.
100%. I mean, he's got it down.
That's good. That's good. All right, buddy. You got anything else you want to throw in here?
Yeah,
before
just
we
a
wrap up?
quick. Some of the community partners that have helped us get where we're at today. We have a huge relationship with the local pharmacy in town. Mike Moffitt at Boston Pharmacy.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're
met him
looking,
once or twice.
I mean, you can. There's not enough good things that can be said about the guy. And not only as a friend but as business. I mean, I've had before where I've had patients that were discharged needed medication, and I have drove to Manton to meet him, and it's been 2 a.m, and he's met me with it.
That's amazing.
That's the thing. It's like I've had people discharged on a Sunday, and the hospital will say, "Hey, we're going to call it into Walgreens." Well, because they're open. No. Get it to Manton, I can get it. And he'll come in. Obviously he's the owner, so he can get it unlocked or whatever. But not enough things to say about him as far as hospice, Munson Hospice, the Lori Cole House, and the things that she's helped us manager down there as far as having the relationship of them being able to trust the company and stuff, and giving a shout out to them. Clorinda Starlin, court-appointed guardian who takes on some of the most challenging cases that are in the area, and she handles, their placement, their daily decisions, and their funds.
Right.
She's always, always, always been upfront, honest, and I think that's really good to make sure.
That's huge.
I don't know. I think another thing I would just touch on is if you can get your own business started, you gotta start. You gotta dig your roots down where you're at,
right? And
then if you dig the roots down, the tree will grow. So
I agree, man. And don't give up, man. Don't ever give up. This getting some people. Eric Podbilski said this the other day when he was on here. He said, "Boy, it's lonely at the top," and I never realized that. And I said, "But what do you mean by that?" And he said, "There's, they talk about being the 1%, right? The people that like us, right? The 1% that's out there." And he said, "I wish I could just get more people to try to start their own business and try to do more and to better their lives, to take a hold of, grasp their own destiny and push forward, because that way we could celebrate at the top with everybody, and we wouldn't have to be, to a certain degree, looked at like, oh, they just have it, right?" And I agree with that 100%. And so persistence.
And that's the thing. Like if I ever get to the top 1%, like you talk of, it's not me.
Oh, it's happening.
It's not me that's got myself there. I maybe have put myself in that position,
right?
But you have to build that team around you.
I
mean, there's no way I can care for.
Jen jokes with me all the time about
30 patients myself.
Right. Jen jokes with me all the time. Jen holds my life together. She messes stuff up too. Just so we're clear.
I try to hold Jen together on the QuickBooks so your life doesn't fall apart.
Yeah. And so Jen pretty much holds my life together. She tells me all the time, like, "Hey, you can buy me a house anytime you want to."
Yeah.
I said, "All right, we'll
get
on
Todd.
that. We'll get on that. So, all right, buddy, we're going to wrap up.
Sure.
I appreciate everybody being on here. We will absolutely have you back on again.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate you being on here and talking about more. The next time we have you on, after you get your first story out, people know what you do. It'll be a little more laid back. We'll have a couple topics to go over, but it'll be fun.
Yeah,
it'll be fun. So,
and I wouldn't even mind coming on and covering topics that don't even relate to me.
Well, that's what we'll do.
Right.
Yeah. We'll get out there with some shit. You know what I mean? I think last week I had Eric Podbilski on. He does trees, right? We talked about the shortage of Medicare and Social Security, and how that's going to be running out. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of those things are cool. But I knew that you had an amazing story, and I know that you're local. You're the same age as me, or you're a year younger.
Actually, I'm younger.
Yeah. And you're just pushing to continue to grow and do better. And I want to get you more in my group because they say you're the average of the 5 people you hang out with most. Mm. And we talk quite a bit, but I don't see your pretty face, your beautiful bald head very often.
Right.
So we got to make that happen. So, all right, buddy, I appreciate you coming on. Guys, next week, golf. I know that's for
Denise's
you.
Husband.
That's Denise's husband.
Yeah.
We were just talking about golf. I'm dying to golf.
That's not just Denise's husband. That guy is,
Is he? I've never met him. Never met him.
You need to, and he's my vacation buddy, and he's my best friend.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. That's exciting. So, guys, next Thursday we're on, next Thursday. Next Tuesday we're on 7 o'clock. Next Tuesday, as of right now, we got Mr. Jamie Hinckley on. Jamie Hinckley's kind of my co-pilot for those off weeks. And we'll continue to bring you local people that are doing well and that are striving to not only make our community better, but also make, local people that want to start their own business, help them push and help them succeed.
I will touch on that, too, before we go.
I'll tell you.
I skipped it.
I didn't even see that come in. Hit on it.
Well, it comes from my cousin Travis. He actually is dispatch for Wexford County.
I don't know who you are.
Yeah. So anyway, what he's saying is doing the job that I do, this is Travis talking, is when Jordan's employees have to call 911. They are very knowledgeable on the patient answer questions that I need to know. I don't know that from any other facility in the county.
That's amazing.
So what we do is we always have the face sheets, and everybody's on top of names, date of birth, diagnoses. We always have a set of vitals when they're calling and stuff like that. So that too is oops, I'm not supposed to touch that, but
I get yelled at.
Yeah, no. But that too is just one other thing that when you're trying to build something in the community and you have that sense of security, like when your loved ones maybe need emergency help, right, the staff knows what's going on.
That's going above and beyond, guys. Going above and beyond. Here's Jim Marone. So you had Miss Bush. You had a lot of what you built on her. So Jim Marone, I built every company I have off this. It's service related, but it's he said, do more than you're paid for today to invest in your future, right? Go above and beyond with every single person you come in contact with, whether it's, with your staff, knowing their names, knowing their diagnoses, because that stuff is going to propel you. You can open 10 more facilities, Jordan, and you're still going to have a waiting list, right? Not because the need's there, but it's because you deliver a level of service that's so high that it doesn't even matter. I can guarantee you this. My grandfather just moved to Michigan. He's getting up there now. I want to say he's 82, but I could be right. He might be 83. I flew out to Montana because he wasn't doing it before.
Yeah, I remember you going.
Yep, I jetted out to Montana to see him. He's made a recovery. He's back. I guarantee you, if he was going in placement, I would call you and be like, I need up on that waiting list.
Yeah.
Because he's not going anywhere else. And I wouldn't even shop, just because I know your values, your morals, they align with mine. Right? And so by that continuing, you're going to have a list miles long.
Well, and then actually just to touch on just the other day, and we can go on forever. But
we could go on forever. That's all right. No, we're doing fine.
Okay. But anyway, so I had actually a phone call. Someone wanted to get on my wait list. Her husband was in the hospital. Well, I took care of the husband's brother for a long time until he passed away in our home. But anyway, so this might be one that I get twisted up. But she, in the last year, had lost her daughter and lost her grandchild.
Wow.
All in the same year. And now her husband has been diagnosed with dementia and needs hospice care. Right. So he has been in the hospital for 3 weeks, and they finally come to her and said, it's time for you to make a decision. Administration says he needs to be out. She doesn't have anything, nowhere for him to go. So I actually, although he's not moving to my facility because I don't have an opening, I've gone to the hospital multiple times. I've communicated with the doctors. I've communicated, to her what the process is that they're doing, because so much has been thrown at her that you just can't sort through it all. It needs to be put in layman's terms. So we've got him hooked up with hospice. He's now home with her, and I call and check on every day. Even though he's not my client, I have not been paid a dime. We are working towards helping in the community regardless whether it benefits us or not.
Good.
So, and she, besides being in tears and, happy that we're helping is just, that to me is worth more than even getting paid. Because that needs to happen more.
Dude, I fucking love you. I do. And that's the thing, guys. We need to see each other more. Yeah. So many core values line up, right? And if we get like a group of 5 or 6 that have the core values that make you amazing in your industry, that do what I do in my industry, and we can, dude, you can change a small community in no time. With 5 or 6 people or 50 people, right, or 100 people that have all the same core values, you extend that you go above and beyond, right? You extend that courtesy, you extend that respect. It will change the environment, the atmosphere, like, you know what I mean? Like, people will see you and be like, oh, that's Jordan Scheffler. And somebody will be like, I don't know him. Like, he's a great fucking guy. Right. That's all I know about him.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That happened in Dollar General the other day. I had walked in, and there's people in the checkout lines like, hey, I think that's Jordan Scheffler. And they're like whispering back and forth. I heard them.
You're like 8 foot tall.
Well, yeah, I know. But I was on a mission. And then they ended up pulling me aside and said, we need to get so-and-so out of Lakeview and get them into your place, whatever. So we had talked about that for a while. But anybody that's out there that doesn't know me personally or doesn't know my number, even if you don't, place a loved one with me or whatever, if you get someone who's in the hospital or have questions on regulations or whatever, like you do with a long-term thing, I can call you. Right. I want people to be able to reach out to me, and, even if I can just be just that stepping stone to help make something happen, whether it benefits me or not. My number, trust me, my number's out there.
Right. Here's something too. We'll touch on we're going to keep touching on shit. I'm sorry. But this is important. So in Way of the Wolf, right, or The Wolf of Wall Street, a lot of people know that movie. Pretty intense movie, but he literally says in there like, this isn't. Don't take this as greed or selfish or whatever. What I'm about to say or boasting. All right, money allows you to do so much more than what you think, right? Money allows you to donate to your church. Money allows or give to your church. Money allows you to donate to families. Money allows you to do things you would never be able to do. Guys, what you're seeing, this isn't the end result.
Right.
All right? Especially, you know what I mean? This isn't the end result. You're seeing like success, but you're not seeing success like come back in 10 years and see where we're at, right? But if you keep grinding and you commit and you keep doing what you're doing, eventually the money will come in and it's amazing. Like some of the things I've never been able to do, you might have not been able to do that placement stuff or help that lady and do all that if you were like really, really starving, right? You had to make your own meat.
Oh, yeah.
And so as you become more successful, you can do so much more for people, right? And you can give charitably. You can do a lot. You can give your time, even just your time.
Well,
right?
even like she said, is like, well, they want to send them to Traverse City to the nursing home, but our insurance isn't good enough, so it's going to cost me $6,000 a month until I can get him into your home. You know, I might be able to scrape by and make that happen for a couple months if you can make sure that he's going to be with you afterwards because my cost is much lower.
Right.
But instead, you know, I said, you take him home on hospice. You'll have them as a support. I'm in the community all the time. If you need me, call me. And I said, whether I have to come over or bring my staff in to come over and help you, you know, you're going to be far cheaper than the $6,000. You know, right. So now she not only has the financial burden lifted, but she also has her husband home, which was his wishes to be home. And if I can't do anything for myself, that's the end. You know, so.
All right, guys, we're going to get off here. I appreciate everybody joining in. Do me a favor. Make sure you like the page. Make sure you share the page. You know, get Jordan's story out there. We're going to keep coming to you every single Tuesday. I hope, at least, right? Not only just Jordan's story, but I hope you found value in what we talked about today.
Right, absolutely. I mean, this has nothing to do with, you know, where we've come from and what we're doing now. It's more or less how we did it and what we want people to pull from our story to make theirs happen.
Absolutely. So